A tale of two conquerors. Two men. Two visions. Two empires. Napoleon Bonaparte, the military genius who reshaped Europe in the 19th century, rising from an obscure Corsican noble to Emperor of France. Adolf Hitler, the Austrian-born dictator whose ambition for world domination led to the deadliest war in human history. Both sought to conquer Europe. Both defied the greatest powers of their time. Both invaded Russia. Yet, one is remembered for his strategic brilliance and legal reforms, while the other is condemned as a symbol of tyranny and destruction. How did these two leaders compare? What can history teach us about power, ambition, and downfall? Origins and rise to power. Napoleon Bonaparte was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, just after it was annexed by France. Though from minor nobility, he was an outsider in French aristocratic circles. But his sharp mind and relentless ambition propelled him through the military ranks. By the age of 24, he was a general. By 30, he had seized power, declaring himself first consul of France. His rise was based on merit, military brilliance, and the chaos of the French Revolution. He promised stability, and France crowned him emperor in 1804. In contrast, Adolf Hitler was born in 1889 in Braunau in Austria-Hungary. Unlike Napoleon, he did not rise through military talent. He was a failed artist, rejected from the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. His true talent lay in propaganda. After serving as a soldier in World War I, he entered politics. By exploiting Germany's economic crisis and national humiliation after the Treaty of Versailles, he rose to power through speeches and manipulation. In 1933, Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. Within a year, he dismantled democracy and declared himself Führer. Unlike Napoleon, he did not win his empire on the battlefield, but through political cunning and terror, military strategy and conquest. Both men dreamed of a European empire, but their military strategies were different. Napoleon was a battlefield genius. His lightning-fast maneuvers and use of artillery overwhelmed European coalitions. He built an empire stretching from Spain to Russia, making France the dominant power in Europe. Hitler, too, waged war with speed. His blitzkrieg strategy crushed Poland, France, and much of Europe within 2 years. But there was a key difference. Napoleon was a warrior, leading his troops in battle. Hitler, however, was not a soldier but a politician who relied on generals. Napoleon fought with discipline and innovation. Hitler fought with brutality and ideology. Chapter 3: The Russian Disaster. For both men, Russia was the beginning of the end. In 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia with 600,000 troops. His goal: forced Tsar Alexander I into submission. But Russia refused to engage in a decisive battle. Instead, they burned their own cities, drawing Napoleon's army deeper into the country. Finally, at Borodino, Napoleon won a costly victory. But when he reached Moscow, he found it in flames. With no supplies, winter approaching, and Russian forces closing in, Napoleon had no choice but to retreat. Only 100,000 men made it back. The French Empire would never recover. A century later, Hitler repeated the same mistake. Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history, saw 3 million German troops storm into the Soviet Union. At first, Hitler seemed unstoppable. But as Napoleon had learned, Russia's vastness and brutal winters were unforgiving. At Stalingrad, Hitler's forces were encircled and annihilated. His dream of a Nazi empire crumbled in the Russian snow. Napoleon and Hitler both ignored history, and both paid the price. The final defeat. After Russia, Napoleon's enemies united. At the Battle of Leipzig, he was decisively defeated. Exiled to Elba in 1814, he made a daring return for 100 days. But at Waterloo, he faced his final defeated. Hitler's end was even darker. Unlike Napoleon, he refused to surrender. As Soviet troops stormed Berlin, Hitler hid in his bunker, issuing hopeless orders. On April 30th, 1945, realizing all was lost, he took his own life. Napoleon was exiled. Hitler was erased. Hitler, in contrast, left only destruction. His regime is remembered for genocide, total war, and the Holocaust. While Napoleon is debated as a conqueror and reformer, Hitler is universally condemned. Both men shaped history, but in vastly different ways. Two men, two empires, two lessons for the world.